What's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe and lick off the bell. So your man's Mike Tyson has reacted to and broken his silence on the AJ versus USYK fiasco. Mike Tyson said the following: after watching the AJ versus USYK fight, maybe AJ had a bad day that night. From that performance, do you really think they could have beat me in my prime? Now, the way this is worded, to be honest with you, it sounds like it's written by some social media manager goofy, because, in fact, it sounds like it's written by someone who ain't even watched the fight, because maybe they, why does it keep saying they for? It's almost as if someone's heard about the fight, haven't watched it, don't know anything about the context of it and the actual details, and is assuming, because of all the bad press kind of thing, that it was a bad fight, if that makes sense, and they're just going, I've heard it was a bad fight, so I'll just put it out there, innit? That makes no sense. Maybe they had a bad night. Do you really think they could have beat me in my prime? Yes, I'm not even sure this is from Mike, but either way, this sums Mike up, to be fair, because all Mike does these days is just rinse, just desperate for money. He'll do anything. He'll jump on anything for money, so, you understand? If it means he can just put a tweet out for some more advertisements, that's what he'll do. Well, that's what his team will do. So, what can I say? I guess Mike will make some more comments in the future as time goes on, but, I mean, why even mention you've watched the fight and all you got to say is maybe they had a bad day that night? What does that even mean? A bad day? Well, let's think about that. A bad day. A bad day for me is, well, I'll tell you what a bad day ain't. A bad day ain't going in there with a cruiserweight and doing nada for the whole fight. That's what it ain't. That's not a bad day. That's a shocking day. But the thing is, people, the great news about this particular game is we're gonna find out 6 months from now. We'll truly know whether it was a bad day or not. Because to be fair, I've watched the fight back again, and his shots were so slow. His jab and right hand was so slow here. It almost felt like, now obviously it's not the case, because end of the day, he was on the ropes, rocking and rolling, and nearly got knocked out and got his eye bust. So I was about to say that it almost felt like he was throwing it away on purpose. Now I did speak to an insider. Some of you may remember. After the Ruiz fight, an insider, someone close to Eddie Hearn, reached out to me and said that AJ had rolled over against Ruiz to build a big fight because Fury and Wilder weren't fighting him. Yeah? Now what do we know? We know, allegedly, Fury may lose to Wilder. That's what I've been hearing. I'm hearing the inside track is Fury's going to lose to Wilder, and that sets up Fury versus Wilder 4, 5 and 6 kind of thing. That's what I've been hearing. So if boxing really is managed by some sort of cabal, then it makes sense. Oh yeah, AJ loses to USYK and then comes back. But like I said, we're going to find out. Is that my base case? No, it's not. Because why would you, if you had that much control that you could just lose and not put much effort in, why would you be on the ropes, rocking and rolling for your life kind of thing? There weren't that much control there. Yeah, AJ didn't put no effort in, but he weren't in control like that. That said, I mean, no word of a lie. The last few days, I've been doing a lot of research. I've been watching, I've been watching welterweights from the past. I've been watching heavyweights from the past, and I couldn't believe how much viciousness these guys put on their jab, put on their shots. I couldn't believe it. These guys was vicious. Now, albeit they were some of the best. For example, I watched, who was it? I watched Lennox versus Mercer. Couldn't believe the viciousness them man had in their shots. Almost like they were throwing every single shot at. Well, that's what Mike Tyson used to say, to be fair. Mike Tyson used to say, Castillo Martin used to say, throw shots with devilish intentions. Unfortunately, in the age of social media, a lot of these quotes have been 2021, in as much as everyone's heard that quote, haven't they now? Everyone's heard, throw shots with devilish intentions. But really, that means something. It's not just a quote you throw out. For example, we've heard AJ say, "Oh, I've been watching all the old fights, and I've been watching Kronk style." That's something you say. It's so easy these days to say Kronk style, isn't it? It's so easy to say devilish intentions. But back then, it was almost a philosophy. It was a culture. It was a philosophy. It was a a spiritual principle. These days, it's a throwaway comment. Yeah, devilish intentions. Yeah, Kronk style. Them, in my opinion, them days, 87, and you can watch it yourself. Go back and watch it. I'll tell you what to do. Go and watch the AJ versus USYK fight, and then go and watch Lennox Lewis versus Ray Mercer, or any fight from them times. You'll see the passion in the shot. I couldn't believe it. It looked like, and even more so now I've been able to contrast it. It looked like AJ, yeah, was in an amateur sparring session. What do we know? Where does AJ train? In an amateur sparring session place. Yeah, that place is full of amateurs and full of sparring sessions. No fighting goes on there. For example, we know, and I'm not saying it's right, but at Floyd Mayweather's gym, yeah, Doghouse, there's no... Well, again, I'm not saying it's right, but the bottom line is, AJ spent his whole career training at an amateur sparring gym. It's government regulated, so they can't have no proper scraps in there. Meanwhile, the opposite end is kind of them Floyd Mayweather gyms, where they go in Doghouse and they go 100% in. Life and death. Now, I believe the balance is somewhere in the middle. You don't want to leave your best days in the gym. But there's got to be a balance. You can't be living in an amateur sparring gym, because you end up doing amateur things, like AJ's been doing for his whole career. And now AJ's jab looks like an amateur jab. No snap, no snare. I mean, I'm not sure if it's still the case now, but I remember, is it not the case that amateurs are penalised for KOs or something? You're not supposed to, innit? I'm sure, innit, something like that. Or you don't get, it's either you're penalised for hurting someone, or you're not, or you don't get rewarded anything. If you knock someone out in the amateurs, it's not, or if you put someone down, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there's some sort of rules or point system that you're not basically encouraged to hit too hard. You're better off just touching and whatnot. And I hate to say it, again, watch the USYK fight versus AJ. It looks pure amateur style. No snap, like he's almost avoiding to hurt someone. That real amateur style, which would make sense, bearing in mind he's got an amateur trainer in an amateur gym. Meanwhile, them old time dons was in there, every single shot was just vicious. Bad intentions on it. I can't really remember the last time I saw AJ throw shots here with bad intentions. Tell a lie, there was a little spurt in that Pulev fight. But even then, that was marred with anxiety. AJ was panicking, hunting the KO, rather than letting his shots fly. He was desperate for it. He wanted it too much. He wasn't comfortable in there, just working. So like I said, I can't remember the last time I saw AJ in there throwing devilish intentions, with purpose and accuracy on them. It would have probably been the Dillian Whyte fight, because even for me, the Klitschko fight wasn't really that either. There was elements of it, but for example, Dillian Whyte versus AJ fight, yeah, that whole fight, AJ was in his flow state. He was in there just flowing. The Klitschko fight, the first 4 rounds was anxiety, was nervousness. Whereas the Dillian Whyte fight, he was in there just pure from the jump. From the first round, AJ was in flow state. The Klitschko fight was really the start of where this anxious style came from. Because it was the first time in AJ's career, in my opinion. It was the first time in AJ's career, yeah, that AJ came out and was tentative for 4 rounds. Now, luckily for AJ back then, guess what? Luckily, AJ's head trainer, or one of AJ's main trainers in the Klitschko fight, was Tony Sims. Tony Sims told him, I believe, at the end of the 4th round, time to get on it. And that's what happened. He came out like a wrecking ball. So really, the writing's, it's been there. This anxious, this weird goofiness has been there for a while. And it's been gradually, obviously Tony Sims left, which opened up the floodgates. And now it's become the norm. Now AJ's almost forgotten how to be in there and just flowing. I mean, this USYK fight was the opposite of flowing. It was a definition of overthinking. There wasn't no flow in there. He was almost worried to step forward. He was worried to throw combinations. It was all singles, and even then, the singles he threw, there was all nothing on them. There was no snap. There was no viciousness. It was all kind of like, oop, oop. Honestly, I can't lie. At the time, I thought it was odd. It looked so slow. But then, contrasting it between the old-time fights, I couldn't believe it. I thought, what's going on here? It's amateurstyle.com. Amateurstyle.com. You can't show me one jab AJ threw the whole fight, yeah, where you can say to me, yeah, man, he was going for it. He tried to take his head off with that jab. And even the right hand, to be honest, most of the right hands were pushing ones. And I'm not saying you should really load up everything into a right hand, but even then, loading up and snapping aren't the same things. When you're in there and you snap a crisp right hand, that's something in its own right. Loading up and stepping over your front foot, that's a completely different thing we're talking about here. Having bad intentions isn't the same as loading up. And we didn't see no bad intentions on any of the shots. So yeah, Mike Tyson talking about, oh, maybe it's a bad day. That ain't the start of it. No, he says, do you really think they could have beat me? Listen, Mike. Yeah, I don't know what's Mike doing, man. What's Mike doing these days? Yeah? You ducked Evander Holyfield, yeah? TRT tore Belfort had to take your easy work for you. You ducked Evander, you didn't want no parts of Evander Holyfield in the third fight. And now what you do, you're hanging around the place, man. I'm done with, truthfully known, I'm done with Mike. Mike's played out in my opinion. Yeah? He ducked Evander Holyfield, now he wants to fight Lennox allegedly, but in my opinion, he wants to fight some more small people. He'll probably call out Joe Calzaghe or something. That's what he'll be doing. Because that's Mike all over. He's scary. He gives it the big talk. Oh, who would have fought me in my prime? No, you ain't been in your prime for 40 years, Mike. So, let's be real here. You scary. And in fact, Mike and AJ... Tell a lie. Mike, to be fair to Mike, Mike would give it a few rounds before jacking. He'd turn up and give it a few. He'd get stuck in for a few rounds before rolling over. But so at least AJ could learn that principle. If all else fails, give it 3-4 rounds and roll over when you're gassed. That should, in my opinion, yeah, that should be for anyone with power, yeah, in this sport, that should be the bottom line. I know, if all else fails, I've got 3 or 4 rounds of pure viciousness. But AJ, he ain't get that memo. Not even a little bit of that memo did he get.